There's a lot going on, and we've heard a lot about it today at this fantastic event with Beat TV. I mean, the first one, and this is the most obvious, is that audience migration from linear television to streaming. And I think it doesn't really matter which market you look at, whether that's US or EMEA or JPAC markets, we're seeing that same sort of trend around the world. The second, really, I would say, is around commercial models. I think typically in this space you see two most preeminent commercial models, which is SVOD, or subscription video on demand, and AVOD. And I think at Magnite we've certainly seen a huge kind of uptick in the sort of in people moving towards that sort of AVOD model. And I think when you look at the macroeconomic conditions, we sort of see that trend absolutely continuing. With cost of living crisis, people's sort of budgets increasingly squeezed. There's a limit to how many subscription services any given household can accommodate, and so we sort of see the AVOD model being kind of increasingly preeminent. That's, I would say, enhanced even further when you look at different markets. So if you look at markets like India or in Asia, where household incomes are typically much more modest, then AVOD is already that commercial model of choice. And then the final thing I'd say is really around devices. I think often in Europe, in the US, when we think of streaming and CTV and OTT, we think about that big screen experience. But the reality is that in some markets, in India is another good example. Actually, they've skipped the TV. They've gone straight to the mobile device. And our recent research shows that 85% of streaming in India, for example, takes place on the mobile device. So it's that audience migration from linear to streaming. It's that sort of preeminence of AVOD as a commercial model. And then finally, I would say it's around device usage are the three major trends that I would say.
Magnite is a sell-side platform.
Correct.
Many programmers are trying to build bits of their own tech as well. Where do you think they're facing the biggest challenges?
Well, I think the broadcasters have done a fantastic job of producing these highly curated, seamless experiences. And I think as those audiences are migrating to to streaming services, again, fast channels or OEMs or indeed those same broadcasters are looking to provide that same sort of experience. So user experience is absolutely crucial in all of that. And so I think when you move into the streaming space, partner selection becomes incredibly important. If, as I said earlier, AVOD is going to be the preeminent commercial model, and so having a seamless advertising experience for your consumers, whoever you may be, is going to be incredibly important. So picking a technology partner that enables you to have to provide that kind of seamless experience is enormously important. At Magnite, we have a broad range of tools and technologies to help with that, whether it's creative separation or ad podding or frequency capping or new tools in live streaming. But I would say picking a really good technology partner that's going to enable you to have that seamless user experience is probably the number one bit of advice I would give.
And lastly, supply chains are a hot topic in many aspects of business lately, unfortunately, and that's the case in media as well, albeit in a slightly different way. Over the last 18 months, we've heard a lot about supply path optimization. How can the sell side, meet that moment and more effectively clean up their supply path?
So SPO is not new news, and at Magnite we're the largest independent omni-channel exchange. So we've been operating in the display video space for a number of years, and SPO has been around, I would say, certainly for the last 3 or 4 years or so. So it's something at Magnite we're pretty familiar with, particularly in the display video space. SPO really means two things in my view. One is around transparency of the supply chain. So it's about really understanding that for a notional dollar that comes from an advertiser, how much of that dollar arrives with the publisher or media owner or technology platform at the other end, and what is the transparent path by which those fees have been taken. So that's one component. The second really is about being the most optimum path to supply. So making sure that that whichever path you choose to get to that dollar chooses to get through to that media owner is the, provides the best performance for the advertiser. So I would say as a media owner, there's two areas that you can focus on. One is around trying to provide as much transparency as possible around some of your commercial partnerships, the partners that you choose and how you work with those partners, so you can provide as much as you can that end-to-end supply chain transparency. And the second is really around ensuring that how do you curate and utilize all of your respective assets to ensure that your media performs as effectively as possible. So in the case of this example, I would say, for a TV player, how can I utilize all of my data assets? How can I use that data with a partner like Magnite to curate the inventory that I've got and then provide that to an advertiser so that when they do buy your inventory, it performs to the best of its capabilities.
Great, thanks for your time.
Thank you.